dance, everybody.
Right? It's
I
that
wanna
song. Song
dance.
always gets me.
Yes.
Guys, welcome to the Melanated Way. I'm Linda. This is April. We are covering 90 Day. I was going to say 90 Day the Melanated Way. 90 Day Fiance the other way. The last episode plus the first part of the tell-all. And you guys, I was feeling a little blah. And then I watched the tell-all, and I have to tell you, I was completely entertained by all of it. And so I am all impressed by all of it. Shout out to the live chat. Amanda, Stevie, Rebecca, S4A, C. Cruz, Midwife Crystal, across the pond. Hello, darling.
Live chat's ready to go. Hello,
Oh, she's back
darlings.
in the US. Okay, so the time's not too crazy. And Shelly, welcome from St. Louis, Missouri. And Vanessa, hello. And so, anyways, what else am I trying to say, April? Support the show. Bottom of the screen, you can see where you can support the show. Go ahead and take a moment and like and subscribe to both my channel and April's channel. She is live streaming simultaneously on her page as well. So show her some love. All right, I think I did everything. Yeah?
Yeah, I think that's everything. I think everybody's ready to talk about the tell-all. Well, the stuff before it too.
Yeah, we'll do the stuff before it. Knock that out. Okay, so overall thoughts on the last episode, because we're gonna start there.
I like Gabe more again. Like my like is increasing, and I think you guys are going to be very surprised at who I agreed with about helping Osama.
Oh, but you're jumping ahead.
You're
jumping ahead. I loved it. I was thoroughly entertained. I was thoroughly entertained by all the couples. I was actually shocked that I was thoroughly entertained. But it was a good little 2 hours that I was like, oh, they're going out with a bang.
Oh yeah, I need so much more.
Yes, like even the Nicole and Mahmoud drama. I was like, why are you guys bringing this into the last episode in the last 10 minutes? Like, we should have started with this.
Just for her to not care about it, but okay.
Right. But we're gonna, and you know what? So we're gonna start with Gabe and Isabel. Obviously, this was their episode, and it was a beautiful wedding day.
Gorgeous.
We know that Monica did not show up, even though it was like a 50-50 chance that she could have been the bigger person and just not made it about herself, in my opinion. So I was kind of here for it, and then her dad being there, Gabe's dad being there, Ruben is Isabel's dad, and Marie is Gabe's mom.
Correct.
And the families meeting and them getting along and showing each other love. I just thought that was beautiful. What were your thoughts on that?
I loved it. I loved that Gabe got to be showered in a way that he did not expect that his life would ever pan out. But it looks like Isabel's getting over it. I'm still mad that he was late and didn't help her.
Yeah, she was pissed. She even said that. She's like, I'm upset. Why is he so late? He didn't even give an explanation. He just popped up. Like, he was able to pop up and be like, here, I'm here for my wedding. Right. None of the pre-work, none of anything. So, he's very lucky that she's very understanding in that way.
Incredibly lucky.
But she's feeling nervous. She's happy. This is the wedding that she's dreamt of her whole life, all the things. She had so many bridesmaids, you guys, so many bridesmaids. And if you guys are part of my Patreon, we saw that months ago. Just so many. And it's also good to remember that her mom made all those bridesmaid dresses. So she knocked those out in like the 3 weeks that they had to plan. And she had at least 6 bridesmaids?
Yeah, she was working up to the last minute.
Man. So she comes down to the aisle, she sees Gabe, and all of a sudden she feels calm. So all that work and all that stress and even Gabe being late, all that stuff just goes out the window, right? One of the things that I was like, Gabe could have done better. She gets there, and that's her beautiful moment in her gorgeous dress. And she tells Gabe that he looks like, handsome. And then he doesn't say it back to her. So she literally asks him, do you like it? Like, do you like the dress? I was like, I know this is your moment, Gabe, but this is also Isabel's moment.
I think he was choked up.
Okay, we'll go with that.
I think he was. I didn't think he's the kind of person who would hold back on complimenting her. I think he probably was just like,
you had one job.
overwhelmed.
You had one job. You didn't do
Well,
anything for the wedding.
he
You could at
didn't.
least put that compliment out real quick without her having to ask you. But yeah, we'll go with that. He was choked up. She was choked up too, though, no?
She was.
Yeah. Okay.
So I shouldn't excuse him. You're right.
That part. Baby Hugh. Oh, Gray is in the house. Good morning.
Hi,
Thank you so much
Jen.
for the super chat. Appreciate you so much. Then we saw that Miguel was her ring bearer, which is her son. I thought that was beautiful.
Super
We
cute.
saw her daughter, Sarah, in the back, like rooting them on.
Yeah.
It was just like really
Everything was perfect.
It was a special moment. Yeah. Now here's the part that I just thought was adorable as well. They're doing their vows, right? And they did their vows in Spanish, which I thought was beautiful as well. Because that is her native tongue, Isabel's native tongue.
They are in Colombia, yeah.
Yeah. And then she goes to put on Gabe's ring. And do you notice that they had that moment where it wasn't fitting and she called his fingers chubby?
Yes. That was I thought that was funny.
Yeah, I thought it was really cute. So, gorgeous wedding, great time. Everyone's super happy. It was full of love. And then they're at the reception table, the wedding table, and Isabel finally realized that Monica wasn't there, and she didn't notice, right? And so Gabe kind of tries to explain that, the night before there was this big issue, but he said that he didn't know what she was upset about. And I thought that was an interesting response. I don't know if he was trying to make it so that they didn't talk about it and spoil their wedding day, or if he truly didn't know. But regardless, Isabel's like, you know what? Monica owes you an explanation, but I'm not going to allow this to ruin my wedding day. And off they went to like greet their guests and mingle with their guests. She thanks God that everyone's happy, her family's happy, her children are happy, and they are happy together. And I just thought it was beautiful. What do you want to add?
I don't want to add anything. I loved every second of it.
Do you want to add anything about Monica?
I mean, I hope that she will show up and tell us what was going on from her perspective, because we're not going to find out from Gabe.
Right. Right. All right. So then there's Nicole and Mahmoud. Now, they're at the garden by the Nile, right, in Egypt. She talks about how she's been there for 5 months, but obviously she still wants to move back to the U.S. And so as soon as Mahmoud's visa is approved, off to the U.S. they go. Now, one of the questions I wanted to ask you, April, she said that they got an email about the visa and it's getting closer. And she asked him, is he ready to move? What light can you shed on that?
So based on what she said at the beginning of the email, it looks like she got an email at the beginning of the tell-all, sorry. It looks like they got an email from the National Visa Center. So once you file the I-130, it's the first step in a spousal petition. That goes to USCIS here in the United States, and they approve or deny it. After that, if they approve it, they send it to the National Visa Center. The National Visa Center is, no matter what place you are, whatever other country you are, it goes there first. And there is where you submit your affidavit of support, your other documents. And once it's ready, they send you a list of documents that you have to file. And there's 2 fees that you have to pay as well. Once you do all of that, then they send it to the consulate where the interview is going to be held.
Gotcha.
So that does come by email. Normally when people say they got an email related to something immigration wise, there might be some kind of scam going on.
Yeah.
But this does come by email. It's the first email from the NVC saying we've received your file. The second email from the NVC comes and it has your case number and your invoice number, so you can make those 2 payments online.
Yeah. Well, there you go. You have the information from the immigration attorney herself.
Yeah.
So they're hoping this visa is going to be approved because, Nicole's not happy. And if Nicole's not happy, no one's going to be happy in
No
this
one's gonna be.
relationship. But he's nervous because he doesn't know if he's going to be able to find a job, make friends, find a mosque. But he's going to go and try, and he's going to go and see. Now, I don't know if I necessarily believe that he doesn't want to leave Egypt. Like, I kind of don't believe it, to be honest.
I honestly, like, looking at his face when the friend that she tried to make walked in and how uncomfortable he was with her clothing, I think that he probably is very scared to come to the US and to be in a place where he's not going to have that same community that has the same beliefs that he does. That probably really does worry him. And he does seem to have the mindset that because he's a man, he can't control how he feels when he looks at other women. Like
Yeah, we're going to get into that because
yeah, and
I'm
so
over
that
that.
that's probably like that probably is a real fear for him, whether he wants to come here to the US or not. But I don't think he's going to do well here.
So he is nervous, right? He's nervous, and they're still talking about the clothing thing, which they've been talking about all season, right? So
Forever.
we're like 15 episodes in, we're 30 hours deep, and all they've been talking about for one of their major issues is how she dresses. And she's hoping that he's going to be less, quote, a dictator, because she wants to be able to wear what she wants to wear. And they've obviously not agreed that he's going to be okay with that. So he's like dilly-dallying around saying, yeah, he's going to try to be better. He's going to try to work on it. Either you're going to work on it or you're not going to work on it. And he goes to say to her that he doesn't like that other men want to look at her muscles or will be looking at her muscles. And she's like, that sounds like a you problem.
I was really glad she said that.
And how about you work on your insecurities and not put that on me? And I was, for the first time, I was like, Nicole actually said something that made sense to me for the very first time, which is why I'm a little upset that, we're doing this in the last 10 minutes of the last hour. Really? You're going to start making sense now, Nicole? Because, but it didn't last very long because she quickly became victim at the tell-all. And we'll talk about that too. Yeah. So, then we find out that, part of the reasons that they've been fighting, like I said, is the clothing thing. And turns out he tends to take off whenever they're fighting. And so he'll take off. He won't bring his phone with him so that she doesn't know where he is. She can't contact him, all the things. Very immature, but also he's never been in a relationship ever, right? Mm-hmm. So that also says a lot about who he is. And the other thing about him moving to the US is, he's in his 30s and he's lived at home his whole life. And all of a sudden you're going to be living with your wife on your own. You're going to have responsibilities. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's going to be a whole shock to you. So not only is it a cultural shock, it's going to be a shock to your sense and sensibilities as far as how mature you are. Because right now you're not showing me any maturity as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
That being said, she goes through his phone, finds out that he has been chatting with some other girls, one girl specifically from Asia, where she's allegedly trying to sell him I didn't really understand the convoluted thing. Like, why are you buying TVs? And like, I thought you worked in a fabric store. So yeah. Is it a side gig? Like, can I get a backstory on this? Because all of a sudden you're trying to buy some TVs from this girl in Asia, but then you're also asking her if she got back to the hotel okay. Like,
why is she selling TVs from a hotel?
Right.
What is that going on here?
Is TV code for something that I should know about? You know what I mean? Like, what? You're selling your TVs at the hotel? I don't know. Sounds to me like TV stands for something else.
Mm-hmm.
And then here's the thing. He tries to flip it on her. He's like, well, why were you going through my phone? And she's like, yeah, I know it's an invasion of privacy, but like, you just took it too far. But then she drops it.
Yeah, she drops it.
And then they start love bombing each other, which it drives me crazy when they do this. So you guys are just going to literally stop talking about your issues and just be like, oh, but I love you so much. Oh, I love you too, baby. Love you. I'm so lucky to have you. I'm so lucky to have you too. Like,
she's like, everyone makes mistakes. Okay. Okay.
What part of that was a mistake? Oh, my finger fell and I started tapping my phone by accident.
Um,
I mean, like, anyway, it's not my battle. I'm just saying it didn't make sense to me. And if
didn't.
you're gonna have a battle, that should be something, right? Because if he's talking to other women over TVs and hotels, you probably want to make some sense out of that.
You probably want to dig a little bit deeper if you found that conversation just right on top.
That part.
Um,
That part. And then the other part I was thinking, April, because is he having these text message exchanges in English? Because I would think that he would not be.
that one must have been maybe because he was talking to another foreigner. Um, but I'd be in there with the translator. If I saw that on top, I'm going further.
Yeah. Didn't make
Yeah.
sense.
Didn't get very far. I want to answer Scandalous's question about Nicole's job. Now, remind me, they've already been married for 2 years, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So they're not going to be applying for a CR1. CR1 is a conditional residency for people who've been married for 2 or less years. They're going to be applying for an IR1, which is the 10-year permanent residency because their marriage has already lasted for so long. And about her income being sufficient, I still think she's a trust fund kid. I think she has assets, or she can just use one of her parents as a joint sponsor.
That joint sponsor business.
How is she living in LA delivering food? No, somebody else is paying the bills.
I mean, listen, you could tell by the tell-all that she was back in LA. She quickly was like, I'm going to wear what I want to wear. Right. Anyways, Jen and Rishi, what were your, I'm going to let you start with their segment.
I understand her temptation to want to go and meet up with him, because don't we all do stupid things right after we break up with somebody? Or am I just telling on myself? Okay. Only me. Only me.
Hold on yourself. This is nothing.
It really wasn't necessary. It was not his goal to go there and have any kind of closure. It was his goal to go there and try and find a way to string her along. Did you see how he tried to kiss her in the mouth? Like, his whole point in being there was to try and find some way to string her along more. It was not to say like a final goodbye. So it really it wasn't worth it for her to go to that.
Yeah, I'm going to say it's a no for me. It's a no for me. She should not even have showed up. And then for the simple fact that he wanted to continue to just be a liar upon lying, just wasn't for me. Like, you're wasting everyone's time, including Jen's, including my time. Okay. That whole little part, unnecessary. So they're broken up. Rishi's having a hard time with it. He can't face that they aren't together. And my whole thing is, how can you not face it? You made a conscious decision. You decided that you were going to side with your parents. You were going to decide that this is the lifestyle you want. So what part can't you face? You never stuck up for her. You never really truly claimed her. Although you had the audacity to propose to her 3 years ago and string her along for 3 years. So yeah, this is happening. And hard to face. Yeah, it's hard to face you and the lies that you continue to tell yourself. You're living in like some type of la la land that I'm just not understanding. So then he says he's heartbroken, and he doesn't know what to do. He just can't accept that they're broken up. And literally my note says SMH, like SMH. What part can you not accept? So he goes to the temple for clarity, and his friend, what's his friend's name? I don't even Nitesh.
Mm-hmm.
So Nitesh, who, if you guys remember, he's also the astrologer, shows up and he explains like, oh, he's so sad and like, woe is me, and I can't believe she said it's over and I'm just having a hard time. What should I do? And then it goes on and tells all of us on national TV that Jen wised up and brought a translator. If there was no translator, I would have made something up. So you're admitting that you're a liar, right? You're a liar and you've been lying and you're okay with that.
Yeah. Completely comfortable with it.
Okay.
Not even perceiving it as a lie.
No, just like, blaming them, because
Mhm.
even Natasha's like, oh my God, I can't believe her friend said that. Yeah, her friend said that, because this fool would never have. And guess what? I know that Rishi went on this long diatribe and saying that his relationship with Jen is not like Sumit's relationship with the other Jenny, but
It
you would
is.
have strung this Jen along for 10 years for sure.
For sure.
For sure.
For
So
sure.
sorry as a fan that we're seeing the similarity.
Mm-hmm.
So says that, and I'm like, oh yeah, my note says red flag, red flag. Nitesh says generally in India, which I thought was an interesting point. Generally in India, love marriages are complicated, and his specifically, Rishi and Jen's story was too complicated. But Rishi doesn't want to give up, even if it's one sided. To me, that sounds very stalkerish. Like, your woman said it's over. She's no longer your woman. She's actually leaving the country so she can go and get clarity on her own. And you're like, even if it's one sided, I'm not gonna. Oh my God.
It's
You know
also really selfish. It's really selfish. She's an older lady. She'd like to be in a serious relationship, and you're willing to keep her attention and keep her focus and keep tugging at her heart when you know there's no possibility for a relationship here,
that part.
rather than let her move on.
And then I was like, are we just all going to sit here and be lying? Nitesh, the friend, the astrologer. So if I was into astrology and I was looking for an astrologer, Nitesh, you would not be the person I went to, because you too, in this segment, decided that you're going to come on national TV and tell everyone that you're a liar. So you say, I was stuck between doing my job as astrologer and being your friend. And so one part of me decided that I'm just going to lie. But now that this has come out to in the open by Jen's friend, here's what I really saw in the stars. And the star says, this marriage can never happen. Okay? The stars are saying this is not supposed to happen. You're not supposed to get married, and it will never happen. Okay, so Nitesh, you've been lying too?
Mm-hmm. So, what we're seeing is that some family structures require people to play roles, or some cultures require people to play roles that are so opposite of what they want that lying is encouraged and permitted.
Yeah, I'm up for
Because
it.
we've seen mom lied in everybody's face. Rishi lies multiple times. Nitesh has now lied. Summit lied 1,000 times. Um, so it looks like, this culture, these family organizations produce lies.
I mean, and I don't know if it's a cultural thing per se. I think that we are meeting some professional liars for sure. Um, but I think that there are professional liars everywhere. And you guys, if you're in the live chat and you know more about this, definitely let us know. If you're watching the replay, definitely have this conversation with us. But I'm just not for it. I think that all this lying that they're doing is exhausting. I'm just like,
Mm-hmm.
y'all are coming on national TV and just be lying all over the place and act
Yeah.
like, and let it roll off your back like it's nothing.
It is nothing for some people. I have had a lot of clients that I've had to deal with that do not understand it's not okay to lie to me. And it literally is. I'm not saying this in a derogatory way, but your cultural expectations and your family expectations are just different depending on where you grow up.
Yeah.
And there are some things that are lies that are not considered as such because you're supposed to do what you can to make the other person happy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. So Rishi's been reaching out to Jen. They meet up, and you could tell it was a humid day. Humid. More like sweating bullets. So if you guys can imagine, if you've ever been on set, think about it's being like the hottest day, and it's not just hot, it's humid. Plus you have all the lights everywhere, the cameraman's lights, because those lights are like put you on fire. So you literally are like sweating bullets, and they were sweating bullets for sure. Like I was like, oh, they didn't even do a retake on some of this, because I'm looking at Jen's hair and it's all like oiled to her face. Rishi, who doesn't look like he's sweat, is like sweating bullets. I was like, oh Lord. So Jen decided for whatever reason, because he keeps reaching out to her over the week, that she was going to waste more of her time and sit down with him. But she says, listen, I'm in survival mode. I know it's over. I know I'm moving on, but it's clear to me that he needs some closure because he is not moving on. So she tells him that she's going back to the US and it's over. And he wants to know like exactly when are you going back? And she was smart. She's like, soon. Because I don't need to give you a day so that you can try to show up and mess up my plans. I don't need you to like be doing any stalking business because you literally said earlier on how you're going to continue to push for this even if it's just you doing it. She's like, listen, I love you and I want the best for you, but this will be the last time we're going to see each other. And I want you to be happy, and that can't be with me. So you're going to have to let me go and live my life and let me be happy. And, I'm going to let you do the same.
Suddenly, everybody's smart.
Except for Rishi, because Rishi says he wanted to say, but he's not a good communicator. He literally said he's not a good communicator. But he wanted to say that, don't leave me and don't go. And again, on my note says it's SMH. What? Why? What is she going to do? Sit here and be in the apartment by herself and be in a pretend relationship with you? Make sense.
Literally, he's like, but Jenny did it.
Yeah, Jenny did it. So, but our relationship is not the same. Thank you, Midwife Crystal. Don't forget to like and subscribe, you guys. I always forget to say that. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Okay, so that was the 1 hour wrap up of all the relationships. Oh, no, wait. Let me not forget the piece de resistance. Chris and Jamie. Let me tell you a little something, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Just off the top of my head, because even before I get into this, Chris I find scary, and I think her temper in this show, on this episode, was wild to me.
Wild.
And I know that the internet streets have been just screaming for the past 15 weeks about her and her alleged, issues.
Mm-hmm.
But like, y'all know because she told us that her son had problems, drug issues, got arrested, all the stuff. Y'all, okay? If you want to get into some real details here, and I'm not going to get into all the details. I save juice for my news and gossip. But this fool, April, felony drug weight. You know how much drugs you have to have for a felony drug charge? Do you know how much time you're going to do for a felony drug charge in the United States of America? Okay, Pablo, like felon. He's got felony weight behind him.
Yeah.
It's a big deal. Now, here's the thing. Okay. Found it interesting that she could be so freely speaking about her son's drug arrest.
Mm-hmm.
And so all those drugs are clearly in her orbit, but not address the rumors, because she has not once addressed the rumors.
She has not.
About her. But what I saw in this episode, April, that was just not a regular person tantrum.
No.
Okay. And also what I saw when she had to fly to New York City, and let me tell you something. Okay. Chris, I got my eye on you. So my note literally says, Chris is scary. Her temper is ridiculous. And last week I didn't appreciate how she was raising her voice and like cussing at Jamie. Didn't appreciate it at all. didn't appreciate the fact that she tried to switch it up and act like Jamie was raising her voice at her, which was not the case. She was just frustrated. There's also a little bit of a language barrier, and she was trying to express, I haven't had the opportunity to say how I'm feeling about our relationship.
Exactly.
I want to talk to you about the relationship, but you keep cutting me off.
Right.
So then Chris is like, you know what? My son was in jail, felony drugs. So, you know, you can't understand that. So now Chris is calling Jamie selfish. But Jamie's trying to explain, well, all of that stuff happened months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so this 2 weeks that turned into 5 months, that's what I want to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
The simple fact that you literally think that you can just say, hey, I'm celebrating your birthday a month late and be okay with that and not want to talk about the issues behind that, not a good look.
Not okay.
Okay, not okay. So then she says, Chris, she storms out, right? So she's still outside because she's already raised her voice at Jamie. She's already cussed at Jamie. And now she's having her own little temper tantrum. And she's trying to tell us, the fans, that she can't work in Colombia. And Jamie hasn't been working. She's the only one that's been working. And I wanted to literally say, shut the F up. That's what I wanted to say, April. I wanted to say, shut the F up, because maybe you need to go back to the first few episodes where you literally told her she didn't have to work and that you would cover the bills.
Right.
And let's go back to the episode where you said you were going to go into business with her and have a food truck. So if you were a business owner, technically you could work there.
Yeah.
Do you want to add anything before I move on?
Yeah, I just want to add that she made this issue about having to go back and work to make money.
Mm-hmm.
But if her original plan was that she was going to pay all of their bills and Jamie didn't have to work, then money shouldn't be so tight that you're having to do yard work.
Right. And what about the house that you said you were selling and the second house that you were renting out? What? Like, could maybe the second house that you were renting out, and I'm totally just making this up at the top of my head, you guys, it doesn't mean anything. I'm just thinking about it now that I know that there's felony weight involved. Maybe the second house was a drug house. And maybe instead of renting it out, you were renting it out. Maybe it was that, and all of a sudden he got busted, and that's why there's the money not flowing. I don't know. Maybe it's a business. I don't know. But I know that any cartel-y type of drug show that I've watched, it's not just one person in the family that's involved. Okay? Maybe the wife is even like Pablo Escobar's wife knew what was going on. Everyone knows what's going on. I'm just saying. Your son goes to jail for felony drugs, and you're supposed to have like a house that you sold, another house that you're renting out, but you all of a sudden are doing yard work when your neck is broken, your back is broken, you're a narcolept.
Yeah.
I know that's not the word you guys. Just being ridiculous.
And drug cases don't move that fast. Let's say he got arrested like, a month before Jamie's birthday, he would still have quite a while before he's going to have a court date outside of a bond date, which is going to be denied.
And and again, like I said, you guys, I watch all the true crime, and I just feel like, and my undergrad is in criminology. I just feel like, when the police are looking at you, and it's not like they just stumbled upon, an ounce of weed.
We both had criminal justice undergrads.
Yes. So
rule number one.
Right. Don't get high on your own supply.
No.
Crack commandments. Shall I go through them, Biggie? God. So I'm just saying, like, something's not adding up. The math is not mathing for me. And so you're all of a sudden like, if you were like a crackhead and you were getting high on your own supply, then it would make more sense to me, because sometimes crackheads don't make sense, right?
Yeah,
they just say whatever just to say whatever. And so that would make more sense to me. And I honestly would be like, oh, she's a crackhead. She can't help herself. But if you're not a crackhead, then you're just a liar. And you're forgetting what your lies are because you literally said that you would take care of this girl. And then you want to make it about $150. But we know that you stopped paying the rent as soon as like 1 month after you left. So if you're like, hey, I said I could only do $400 a month, well, then you should continue to do that $400 a month and let Jamie figure out the other 100 or 150, whatever it is.
Exactly. Where is she getting this extra random $50 from?
I don't know. She said, I saw the contract. Say crackhead again, Linda. Rebecca says, oh, I love you guys. I'm just saying the crack is not cracking. So, all of that being said, Chris promised she promised Jamie that she would take care of her. And Jamie didn't get that from anywhere, right? Like she literally said that. And us, the audience, are the witnesses to that. So like this attitude and all this like, I don't know where it's coming from. And I mean, I do. You know, when someone gets confronted about their own lies and they never like to be confronted about their own lies, then they try to twist it. And when they can't twist it and they can't manipulate you,
it's upsetting. Well, there's something else happening here too. There's crack and patriarchy combined, because she's under the impression that if I spend money, then you don't get to bother me with your feelings. You just have to appreciate what I'm spending money on. So I'm going to take you on this event, even though it's a month after your birthday, and you don't get to bother me about how you were feeling that I had abandoned you the past 5 months, because you didn't want to hear any of that. And it's very much like the way that men would be back in the day. I pay all the bills. I don't want to hear about your emotional problems and feelings and needs and wants and desires. My only job is to pay the bills.
Right, then bitch, pay the bills. Jamie would not be complaining if that's what it was. Just pay the bills. Pay those bills. Serious. But like I said to you a few episodes ago, Chris is checked out. Because here's what really happened. In my humble opinion, this is what happened.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Chris, who has never left the country before, okay, her first same-sex relationship, who may or may not have crackish ways,
or methodish ways,
decided to pick up and move across the country, not even across the country, across the world, because she met a sexy Latina that checked all the boxes that she was looking for. She thought that she was going to go, and because she was in Colombia, perhaps thought that she was going to be in the Mecca
of that white girl,
of that, the ooh-wee, ooh-wee, ooh-wee. And then went there and realized that whole country is not just about the stereotype that you probably had in your narcoleptic dreams. So you dreamt that you might have a Scarface moment in the bathroom, but you didn't. And now you're stuck with, if that was the case, you're stuck with, hey, I'm going to feel like I can't get out of bed for 2 days, and I'm going to blame it on my back and my neck. And I'm going to get even whatever over the drug shot that I can get in my back and my neck and keep it pushing. But guess what? I'm not going to stay here. That's not for me. So let me quickly say that I need to quickly go back because my motorcycle got stolen and it was worth $50,000. And they're charging me, the police are charging me to store the evidence. Let me go back, but I'll be back.
5 months later, SpongeBob voice. I did not think that this was going to work out because it was just too many changes at one time for
Right.
somebody coming from Alabama.
Right.
But I did not think it was going to implode like this.
I mean, are we surprised?
I'm surprised at the pushing and the physicality of it.
Yeah, we haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, yes. Okay, so Jamie talks about how Chris promised her all this stuff, but at the end of the day, empty promises with no foundation. So she also says, Chris gets mad when she's confronted, and I agree because she's being confronted by the truth, which is also very crackish, by the way. If you ever saw that show Intervention, that's what it made me think of. Like, you are being confronted by your poor behavior. And in this situation, it's only one person. In those situations, it's like, all your loved ones or whatever. And you automatically, if you're not ready for whatever that's supposed to be, like the next steps, you get mad. And that's what we're seeing here. We're seeing her get mad, and we're seeing her not want to confront the lies that she's told this woman, but yet had the audacity to go ahead and say, yes, let's get married within 9 days of knowing each other. Shame. It's a shame.
Shame.
So Jamie's still trying to have a conversation and trying to communicate with Chris, and says, are you ready to listen to me? And instead, Chris goes on attack mode. She's like, well, how much was the rent? And talks about the 4 versus 500, which is above her rate. And then she freaks out, you guys. She's like, I'm done with this BS. You're selfish. My son will always come first. And then the infamous 90-day line comes out. You ready, April? I'm done. I don't care anymore. And literally says, go F yourself. But she says the full word. Find someone else to pay your bills. This is pointless. And goes on a tangent, you guys. And so she goes on this tangent, which went from 0 to 360 for no reason, right? Because why are we going there unless, like I said, think about intervention in the back of your head. Because why are we here? Yeah. She literally just asked you, are you ready to listen to me? That's it.
That's all she said.
So then they get to the production vans, and that's what they took there. So guess what? They're going to take the production vans back. Jamie makes the mistake of trying to maybe continue to communicate with Chris, but Chris has already, she's off her rockers right now. Like, she's not ready to hear anything. So she starts screaming in Jamie's face. And when I heard her say for the second time, get the F away from me, and she pushed Jamie, I was like taken aback by that. I was like, oh, this is some DV stuff, and that's scary. And are we going to address the fact that she put hands on? Because I always say, keep your hands to yourself. Are we all not addressing the fact that this woman put hands on this other woman? Are we not saying anything about it? Because I know if it was anyone else, it would be an issue. Because now it's now it's Chris and Angela who have both put hands on people that they should not put hands on. And I'm just confused. Are we not addressing this at all anymore?
I didn't see. I went back to look at it because I was like, wait a minute, where'd that come from? For me, it came out of nowhere. And I didn't see any production people intervening.
No one intervened, and no one said anything. Just like with Michael, keep your freaking hands to yourself, and we need to address it. Someone needs to address it. Keep your hands to yourself. Period.
Yeah.
Okay. So guess what? That brought us into the tell-all part.
Yes, tell-all. Tell-all time.
All right, so tell-all. I love the tell-all. I loved everything about the tell-all. I love the breaks that they took. This was interesting because of the first time where they literally finished one episode and took it right into the tell-all in the same day. Not sure if I was a super fan with that. Y'all could have wrapped it up last week, and then let's just jump right into the tell-all. But that being said, one by one, they all show up in New York City. Gabe was at an Airbnb. Thought that was an interesting choice for him. Jen was at a hotel. And so Gabe's the first to arrive. Then Jen arrives. Jen's a little nervous, right? What's going to go on, all the things. And then Nicole shows up in person, which I thought was an interesting take because we didn't know yet that she was back, right?
Mm-hmm.
So her showing up in person gave me a hint that, oh, something's happening here. So here's the thing. This is what was your take on that first part of the tell-all?
For everybody, or is somebody specific?
Just this part so far for Gabe and Jen showing up first.
Okay. I think it was deliberate for them to have Gabe show up first, because he just comes right out swinging. Like, I do like this person, I don't like that person. Like, and I loved it because it wasn't fake energy in front of somebody's face after he just told us that he didn't like them.
I think Gabe is like a gossip.
Absolutely.
Gabe is like the town gossip. He's like, he literally is in everyone's business, and he is ready to be like blah 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 blah. So
he came in like he just binged all the episodes and is like, I'm ready.
That, and he absolutely took notes, y'all. He took notes because, and he's on all the social medias because he's just been waiting. So the first thing that happens, Nicole shows up in person. Nicole sits down, and Gabe is like, "So, your hair, you look really good. Got that whole shoulder out and everything. What's happening with that?" I was like, oh, she's been here for 2 minutes. What are you doing? Oh, I see what you're doing.
Jump right in.
Your hair is like really perfect. You know, I thought it was a wig. I was like, oh, this fool with the backwards compliment, because she heard online where everyone thinks that her hair is a wig. But did y'all notice that she didn't really answer? She didn't say yes it is or no it's not. She just said, yeah, I've seen that online too. Did y'all notice that?
Oh, I thought she did answer, but you're right. She just said, oh, I've seen people saying that.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
She didn't answer. And so I was like, oh, so Gabe is going to be about that life. He's going to jump in and be about that life. So, okay, let's do this. So not only has in the first 5 seconds has he mentioned her the issues, right? Her clothing, right? That we saw all season long, her hair that everyone talks about online, but he's going to just jump right into Mahmoud and be like, so yeah, you know, your husband that you've been married to for 2 years, not a fan. I was like,
cut to the chase, Gabe. You just went right in. I love that for you.
I was like, oh, he is not holding back at all. So Nicole was trying to still be like, you know, Nicole-ish, right? So she's like, you know, like, I get what you're saying, right? And then Gabe's like, well, does Mahmoud know, like, this is what you wore to the tell-all? Does he know? And she's like, well, you know, I'm done asking for permission and I'm done enabling his insecurities. And I was like, oh, wow. And then Danielle shows up. And she looked gorgeous. By the way, that was something else that I loved about the tell-all. I feel like they all like came out glamorous.
They did.
And like made it like just look good. Do you know what I mean? Like everyone looked good. And so Danielle shows up, and you know, Danielle also too heard all the things that people are saying about her, and she was able to like communicate how she's feeling about it. And she's like, you know, I'm going to continue, and I'm paraphrasing right now, but I'm going to continue to be who I am. You know, everyone sees Johan, they think he's tall and handsome and hot. And so they think I should be the one that's at home cooking and cleaning. And I'm not about that life. Like, that's not what's happening here. She's like, I am secure in who I am and what I bring to the table. So y'all might think he's hot and this and that, but like, I'm a catch too.
Yeah, I hadn't seen that. There have been people saying that she needs to like just do more of whatever he says because he's hot.
Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Huh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
She has so much confidence for me and has so much like self-love for her body that I can see it that it never I don't know, it never occurred to me that they were in any way it seems like these people are saying that they're mismatched um physically. It never occurred to me that they were because she's got so much confidence.
People, I mean, the internet streets are brutal, y'all. They're brutal.
It's
And
interesting.
90 Days specifically, the fans, they y'all know how you all act sometimes. Woof. So, um, thought it was interesting that Nicole was not a fan of Usama and felt like he was love bombing Debbie. I was like, but you and Mahmoud
Love bomb each other.
So are you calling out something that you're familiar with and that's what we're doing? Because I know you can't be calling out Usama for something that we've only ever see you do this whole season.
Exactly. He's just the low-hanging fruit for everybody.
Something's up. So then Debbie arrives, and Debbie arrives first. She's got this like leopard print outfit on, and the show has started because she's like gets out of her ride share production truck, whatever it is, and says, I am at the epicenter of temporary insanity.
I love it, Debbie.
And I need to go in immediately. And she scoots all in. Like, that is how you arrive. Do you know what I mean? I've arrived. And then she goes on to say that she's a little bit nervous. I think the biggest thing I'm nervous about is seeing Isama. But sometimes Miss Debbie is emotional and may say some unkind things. You know what, Debbie? Just do all that. Do it all the time. Okay?
Mhm.
Do it all the time. And then, y'all, when she walked in and all her glory, her pink fan, she's got a pink one now, April.
Yes. I'm behind. I'm behind.
Her pink fan matched her pink. What do I even call that? Like robe? What is that? Jacket? Whatever. It was fabulous. Just like feathery goodness all over the place.
She's just like got on all the costume jewelry I wanted when I was 8.
All of it. And then she's got this sparkly little short dress on. And then sparkly green, emerald green, y'all. Emerald green cowboy boots. Listen, this was all the things all the time. It was all the things. I said, this is how you show up and show out, Debbie. Miss Debbie. So she did all of that, and I was excited, and I was like, this is amazing. This is everything. So she shows up, and then Chris arrives, and here's okay. So y'all, listen, y'all, listen, Linda, listen. I have, as we all have, lived through a 2.5-year pandemic. Okay. And so when Chris arrives and says that she's been sick for the last few days, but nothing was going to stop her from getting to New York City, and then sits down in front of everyone and says how she's been violently ill and puking in airports, I was like,
girl, why don't you have on a mask then?
That part. Why don't you stay the F at home, be on screen somewhere, unless
you know that it's not a cold or a flu or a COVID.
That part. Unless, let me see. Perhaps are you violently ill because of the long flight that you had to take from Alabama to New York City and having to go through TSA and you can't uh, 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 uh. That part. Didn't want to say it, but y'all are saying what I'm thinking.
Yeah. No candy in the champagne room.
Annie, I'm not having the COVID conversation. I'm saying I don't think that it's COVID. I don't think that she was sick like that. I think she was sick in other ways. That's what I'm saying, and that's just my personal opinion. So, that being said, yeah, exactly. That being said, after Chris arrives and tells everyone that she's been violently ill, Gabe rolls his eyes and says the most hilarious thing and says, I just don't like her. I just don't like Chris. I don't like her.
Oh, and my neck.
And in between like her neck and her back and her neck and her back, and he's doing all this and then does this. Died of laughter. Died of laughter. I was like, oh Lord, see, he's bringing the mess that we all need.
Yes.
And then they quickly sneak in two guests I was like, who are they trying to sneak in all quick like that? But we find out that it's Tim and Veronica, and they're switching up how they're doing the tell-all again this year. So last year it was Tim and Kenny, but they were just backstage. But we found out for this tell-all, they're going to do commentary, but they're also going to bring Veronica and Tim on stage to kind of do like a pillow talk commentary. So they're both super excited to meet who? Debbie and Gabe, the two that bring the drama. And then we go to the studio. So we're all in studio. Dateline should hire you. That's funny. Stevie, that's funny too. Okay, I'm getting sidetracked. Okay, so we get into the studio, April.
Mm-hmm.
First up is Debbie and Usama, right? So if you are familiar with Sean's style, she goes around the room and kind of does like a quick overview with everyone, sees how everyone's doing, checks in before they go into detail. Right. So the first person she jumps in on is Debbie and Usama. Oh, I wanted to show you guys this picture because I think it's foretelling of what's about to happen on the tell-all coming up. So I forgot to mention how when Jen came in, I don't know if you guys noticed, but she just like slicked in. Like everyone else kind of like, I've arrived. Hello. But she kind of just was like this. She didn't say a word. She kind of just sneakily came in and sat down. And I just feel like this picture says a lot. And I want you guys to keep it in the back of your mind for later, because I have some thoughts about that. Okay, so back to Debbie and Usama. Sean's like, hey, have you guys been in touch? Like, what's going on? And she's like, yeah, he's been trying to communicate, but I didn't answer. And he says, yeah, he tried calling her thousands of times. And she's like, yeah, you know what? I just didn't need it. I'm healing myself, and I needed to set the reset button. Did you want to add anything to that part?
I mean, let's go ahead. I got something to say later on.
How about I do all the intros and then we'll go?
Yes. Okay.
So then she jumps into Danielle and Johan. Johan's on the screen. And she's like, Sean says, are you guys, still married? And Danielle said something interesting. She's like, we're still technically married. And Sean's like, well, we'll circle back to that because I want to know what technically means. Then she goes to Jen and Rishi. Jen and Rishi she asked, have you guys been in touch? And apparently Jen has talked to Rishi a little bit, which I thought was like, why? Why are we even
Yeah,
going
why?
here? Why are we doing this? Gabe and Isabel. Gabe in studio, Isabel on screen. Super cute. She's like, oh, I already miss him already. And then he like kisses the screen and says, I miss you too. And then we go over to Nicole and Mahmood, and she asks about, what do you think of her outfit? And he's like, she looks good. I was like, that is not all you think, but good answer. And then we go over to Chris and Jamie, and we find out that they haven't talked since, Chris physically attacked her.
Which is reasonable.
Which is absolutely reasonable. Okay, so overall introductions. Thoughts, April?
After the introductions, I was most interested in talking to Jen and Rishi and Danielle and Johan, which is weird because I haven't cared about Jen and Rishi at all. But now I suddenly think that they're going to get back together.
Yeah. Why do you think that?
She just seemed kind of not really wanting to say a lot. Like yes, we've talked a little. Mm-hmm. It was kind of low, like she's embarrassed about whatever else she's gonna say.
Which, when we go to this picture, makes it make a lot of sense, right? You guys, like that. I've got shame. Oh, for shame. Okay. So obviously we're going to start with the high drama. So Sean starts with Debbie and Usama. So he's sticking to, they had a plan that he was going to get his visa, that she was going to bring him back to the US and guarantee his future. They show that clip. They show the tension between them, and they also show their downfall. Debbie talks about how it was hurtful to see that. She really just misses the old Usama, and says that, old Usama was not a mean person. He was a kind person. It's like, yeah, because he was still scamming you. And now that he knows he's not coming to America, he doesn't feel like he has to be kind to you.
Scam battery ran out.
Scam battery ran out, that part. Mm-hmm. And then, so Sean's like, why did you break up? And he says, we broke up because Debbie told me she's going to move to Morocco forever.
He was like, what? No. That's not what I wanted at all.
He said, oh no, y'all. I am 24. I put in, 2-3 years of this scam for it to fall apart on my face. I shouldn't have gone on national TV. I shouldn't have been honest. And he wasn't even honest, you guys. It was his family that ratted him out. His family thought that they knew and she knew and all the things knew, but she didn't know. And she picked up on what the family was putting down. So it blew up in his face. So he's like, yeah, we broke up because, Debbie wants to move to Morocco forever, and I'm trying to come to the United States. Okay. So he's like, we planned it. And Debbie's like, we've never planned this. That was never the plan. And goes on to say, I don't know, he's smoking something. And then this is where I was like, oh, Johan. So Johan jumps in, which I was surprised because we haven't really seen him talk a lot, right? Mm-hmm. Like he kind of just is there. But I think because they all had their own individual interpreters, that they were all engaged, right? So he knew exactly what was going on because they all had their earpieces on. So he jumps in and he's like, everyone is looking at Usama like he's the black sheep, he says. But Miss Debbie, with all due respect, I'm with Usama. And this is my face. I was like, oh, what is he about to say? Because what? He's with Usama and says, Miss Debbie, with all due respect, get him a green card and help a young guy get a job. Then says again, I'm with Usama. What were your thoughts on that?
Okay, so I actually agree.
With who?
And I with Johan. And it's complicated. So let me explain. I would never
I need a
say
glass
it.
of wine.
I would never say it the way that Johan said it. The way I would say it is, first of all, it's not okay to use people for solely just one thing, right? So don't lie to people just because all you want is a green card. But if you're looking at choosing a partner and for the total package of what they bring to your life and how you feel when you're with them, I do think it's okay to consider that as one of those things. And
I'm
here's the
so
thing.
sorry. I
Well,
zoned out when you said you're with Johan. Could
so
you say that again?
yeah, so here's the thing. Some of us have lived lives where we have the privilege of deciding who we want to be with in a marriage and a partnership just because of how the person looks, how the person treats you, what kind of conversations you have together. It is a real privilege to be in that place to choose your partnerships that way because there are many, many places in the world where your survival means that you cannot choose a partner in that way, at least if you want to try and have a better life. If you want to try to have a better life, you have to consider things other than whether they treat you well and how much they like you, or how much you like them. And so I understand I would never say like just use somebody for a green card. Obviously, like I'm an immigration attorney. I don't want anybody to do that. But I can say if I want to move, it's my dream in life to move to Spain. And I set my tender to only show me people who live in Spain. I think it's okay that I want to find someone I love, but in a country that I want to live in. I think it's okay for that to be a factor in your decisions. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me, but ask yourself this. Have you ever lived in a place where your literal survival, like your day to day situation is you don't know what you're going to eat, you don't know if you're going to be able to work? Have you ever lived in a place like that?
Okay, so I'm just asking so that I could be 100% clear here. So, are you saying that you think it's okay for someone to set like their online profile to the country that they've dreamt of living to meet someone who's from that country and quote unquote fall in love with them so that person could sponsor them so that they can go live in the country of their dreams?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. As long as you also have other things in common with that person, you're not just lying to them for the purpose of getting the visa. To use that as one of your factors, I think it's completely fine. We look at the benefit that people bring into our lives when we're considering partnership in a lot of ways. There are women who choose a certain person to mate with because they want their kids to look a certain way, because they want their kids to have a certain eye color, texture, or hair texture. Like if we can use those superficial things to choose a partner, then why can't we also consider how much money they make? You know, what other kind of benefits will I get from this relationship? Those are normal things that people consider when they're choosing a partner. So why we don't have to lie about it.
I'm going to sit with this one for a minute because I have a lot of thoughts. I will go off topic quick. But I will say this. Yeah, no, I'm not even going to say that.
I would like the way that Johan explained it, I think was using a lot less words and just kind of cutting to the chase. But I honestly don't think that he meant lie to someone and get a green card. I think he meant, you know, you guys really have some love for each other. You have some things in common. Why not help him out? You know, and I understand Danielle's response to that. We are not nonprofits, but if I love you, I want to help you. I want to do things that are going to improve your life. I want to do things that are going to improve your family's life. And
Right,
if
but he didn't love her, because if he's so quick to be like, no, I don't love her, and I specifically don't love her because she told me that she wanted to move to Morocco forever.
I think that's embarrassment. I think he's embarrassed. And I'm not defending him. You know, his behavior, the way that he talked to her was abhorrent. But I think that he just finds himself now embarrassed, either because his scam battery died or because he couldn't keep it together. He couldn't keep his words together and his anger at the situation. I also think they did have a miscommunication. She said at some point, she said they were going to come to the US. And I think that he interpreted that to mean that she would bring him and get residency for him, where she just meant that they were going to maybe have a visitor's visa and come for a visit. I do think they had a big misunderstanding there.
Uh, I mean, he heard what he wanted to hear.
Yeah.
He heard green card, and he heard, okay, then she's with it. She's with
Yeah.
it.
And I want to explain one more thing because I already see comments about it. When you sponsor someone to come to the US and you sign the affidavit of support, you are not agreeing to pay for anything they need for 10 years. That is not what the affidavit of support is. Okay. The affidavit of support only says if that person requests government benefits that they would otherwise not be entitled to, and they receive those government benefits, the government may come back to you and request those back. So if they apply for the benefits and they qualify for them on their own, that's not between you and that person or the government. Only if they receive a benefit that they would not otherwise be entitled to, and the government rarely ever does that. So that 10-year affidavit of support thing is not a good argument against wanting to sponsor someone.
I'm just going to read what Scandalous wrote. Scandalous said, he tripped at the finish line. He should have married her in Morocco and then just never left the U.S. when they traveled back for Christmas holidays.
I mean, he did fumble at the finish line because he got too angry at her whistling.
So yeah. Johan feels his his situation is similar. And then Gabe jumps in because Jabe is a shit disturber and says, she could have been using him to go to Morocco. And I was like, what, Gabe? Like, what? What? Now, I know a lot of you guys feel like, hey, Debbie should have known better. And there are women, older women specifically, who prey on young men in third world countries or who are less fortunate than them. And that's a whole thing. And it's a whole ring. And it's a whole thing that actually really does happen. And it's very, very prevalent, you guys, in like a lot of parts of England, like a lot of older British women who are very well off. They go to like a lot of African countries and like do all that. And so it's prevalent everywhere. And so, I know a lot of people have brought that up. And so I do think that in this situation, she obviously was getting something out of it, whatever that was, with companionship. She calls him her best friend, whatever it was. I see how that could have been a two-way street, and they were each trying to benefit from the other. I do see that. However, Johan is in it to win it. I cannot wait till we get to that part because clearly he sees himself in Usama and has said as much.
Mm-hmm.
So then Sean's like, well, did you love her? And he said, yeah, I loved her, but now I don't. Okay, so you don't love her because she didn't bring you to America and she's not sponsoring your dream and she's not guaranteeing your future. That's where I have a problem with this, April, because I don't think that he ever really loved her. Yeah, they had poetry in common. And yeah, they had painting in common, but here's what he saw. He saw an older rich woman from the South who paints and does poetry. She must be rich. And so we have that in common. I want to come to America and I want to get rich off of my painting and poetry too. didn't work out for him, but that's how, in my opinion, he saw her. It was, you do what I do, but you have money and I don't. So like, I want you to, quote, guarantee my future as well. That being said, doesn't love her. And then here's where it gets interesting. So you don't love her anymore, but you're calling her thousands of times. Why are you calling her? Oh, I'm calling her thousands of times to remind her that it's over.
See, that's the other reason why I think that he's just embarrassed to say that he does still care about her, because why else would he be calling her like that?
Well, he's calling her because he wanted to see if he could reel her back in.
Well, okay, yes. Yes, that too.
And she didn't answer. So now he, like you said, has to save face and be like, well, I was calling her to remind her that we're no longer together. Cool? Cool.
See, if he was a good scammer, he would to this day be like, I'm really sorry about how I talked to you, and how do I get this back on track?
I mean, there's, yeah, okay. So, the cast was like, who does that? Jen's like, who does that? Who calls someone and says it's over when it's been over? And then, like, who can do this? And he's like, me. I can do this. I was like, oh, Lord. And then Mahmoud wants to jump in, and Mahmoud wants to say, Debbie's too old. The age bracket between the two of you is too much. She's too old and you're too young. How old are you? How are you? No. I was like, oh, stop talking. Stop talking. Usama's like, well, you know, the souls have no age. Okay.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. So then they bring out Julian. Now, I got to tell you something, you guys. Even in this live chat, I don't know. Julian came out and the women are like drooling all over the place. I don't know what it is. It's because he was protecting his mama. In the comments, people are like, well, he's a cop. But people are loving him, April, like loving him. So Julian comes out, guns a-blazing. He literally calls Usama boy. Boy, you're in my world now. And I was like, I don't even feel like that's that Georgia hospitality, y'all. I don't really.
Oh no. This is
calling someone who is a person of color boy on national TV.
That's very Georgia. Very Georgia.
Didn't appreciate it, boy. Oh my God, you guys, the skit I cannot. But whatever, y'all. You see it how you want to see it. I'm just thinking Georgia cop in the South calling a person of color boy. Maybe not a good look in America.
Threatening violence immediately, using your cop status. To indicate that you have some intelligence about knowing when somebody's lying or not. Like, he's doing all of this grandstanding. Sir, if you really cared about your mom, you would have been on the plane to Morocco.
That part. But instead, so guns a-blazing, and he's like, you know, I'm done seeing this. You need to turn off that monitor. I was like, this is not your show, and you aren't running shit here. You might be running shit where you are in your little world, but that's not what happens in good old New York City. So then he talks about Usama being a stalker and how he texts Debbie 60 times in 2 hours and calls him a psychopath and that he's love bombing her. And he's like, I'm a cop. And I can snuff out BS. Then says, and you guys came for me when I mentioned his little tooth, but then says, go to the dentist and get yourself fixed up. Quit preying on elderly women and get a job. Get a job.
He brought that on himself when he called Julian a dog.
He did. He did call Julian a dog, but I mean, April, if we're going to go tit for tat, you know, he called him boy first. right?
Yeah, that's true. I don't know if that that is a high insult in the South. I don't know if that carries the same weight for Osama. Because when you're a Georgia cop, this whole world is yours. Okay? That's how they see it. You're in my world now, Brown.
Brown frown, that just took me out. That was hilarious.
It's probably a local cop too, not even a state trooper.
Okay, so that was hilarious. Okay, so Jillian kept saying, get a job, get a job. And then Usama says, I will never get a job because I'm a poet and I will die for my dream.
Those are he just wanted to say something because clearly he said that he wants to come to the US so he can work.
No, but did you hear
So
what I said?
now he's
It's
just
not
saying
about
something.
work. It's about living the lifestyle that he sees Debbie living, because he sees Debbie, in my opinion, as a poet and a painter, and Debbie has money. So he wants that. So he's like, I want to come to America and be like a poet and painter like Debbie and make all the monies.
There is a really false perception that there's no poverty in the US and there's no
really
homelessness.
weird.
There's a really there is a lot of that.
So then Sean asked, did you ever really love? Were you attracted to Debbie? And there's some silence. And then we're talking about one night in Casablanca. So basically, okay, because Debbie's a lady of the South and Debbie doesn't want to kiss and tell. But basically, Usama's like, yeah, I hit it and quit it, is what he wanted to say.
Basically.
I hit it and quit it. Tell him, Debbie, tell him. I had so many questions here, you guys. So first of all, Debbie says, we had some wine, we had some cheese, and then Usama tried to get a little amorous with me. And Julian's like, oh, so was it Barry White time? I was like, oh, y'all are killing me with this. Killing me. So basically, y'all did it, but you don't want to say you did it because you're a lady. What did they say? Freaking the sheets, lady in the streets. That part?
Big Debbie and Muhammad vibes.
Nights in Casablanca.
Remember when Debbie was like, he only did it one time to avoid an annulment.
So here's where I'm confused, right? Because
Danielle, sorry, not Debbie, Danielle.
I'm like, okay, so obviously it's like any other religion, clearly, right? Islam and being Muslim, it's like any other religion. You're going to pick and choose what works for you, because we've met a lot of Muslims on the show who are super strict. The other Danielle's Muhammad couldn't even kiss her because it was Ramadan on their wedding day. And then another Muslim got married during Ramadan, right? One smokes, one doesn't. One drinks, I don't know what the rules are, but I think it's like with any religion. People are going to pick and choose what works for you, whether it's Christianity or Jewish or whatever the case may be. You're going to pick what works for you specifically. So I just find that part interesting. So did they get jiggy with it? Yes, they did. But Debbie's going to say, tried to get amorous with me. Debbie, you did not fly all the way to Morocco and just have some wine and cheese. Girl, please.
Yeah, it's okay, Deb.
Yeah, it's okay, Deb. Okay, so she said tried, though. And Amanda says, I really thought that meant they didn't do it. I don't believe it, Amanda. I do not believe that Debbie flew all the way to Morocco and didn't get a little jiggy with it. I think that was her Southern hospitality, being a lady, and especially because her son is right in front of her. What Southern mama's gonna be like? Yeah, I hit it. She's gonna be like, yeah, he tried to get a little amorous with me.
I'm about to tell Taylor I hit it. Taylor. But remember, she said the first night she arrived, she's like, we have to sleep in separate areas. And that's fine with me because I just got here and I want to relax and stuff. She didn't say because I'm never gonna.
That part. So Sean then asks, hey, did you ever at any point talk about a green card? And Debbie says, a few years ago, we talked about a green card, and only in the sense that I brought it up and I said, can you imagine the Border Patrol looking at our dates of birth and being like, oh, look at this date of birth, look at this date of birth, and then throw it in the trash. So then my thoughts, April, were this. If you mentioned it a few years ago and you haven't mentioned it since, do I believe that, or do I believe that there had to have been some type of conversation closer to when you were coming to Morocco? Because he was under the impression that he was coming to America.
Yeah. Well, she said, I told him, not this episode, but before, that they would go to the US to visit her family and check on her, different businesses and stuff. And I think that when she said that, he assumed that meant that he would get a green card. He probably doesn't understand that in order to have residency in the US, you have to have certain physical requirements of staying here for a certain amount of time. So he probably thought, oh, I have residency, I'll be able to go back and forth with you, but you can't really do that.
Yep. So then Tim jumps in. Tim says Usama is the biggest scammer ever. Sean asks about money. She's like, Debbie, have you ever sent him money over the years? And she says in the 4 years that they've been together, she sent $2,000 and also pays for the day-to-day stuff, right? So Johan, of course, that rang a bell with him. Ding, 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 because, Danielle pays for everything. So Johan says, he's a young boy. He needs help. You should be doing that. Okay, Johan. Can't wait to get to your part, because you clearly are like trying to lay the foundation. Like, listen, I'm younger. I'm about to do this. I'm about to make that money. Anyways, okay. We'll get to you, Johan. Don't worry. Then Usama gets into it a little bit, I guess, what you are saying and why you agree with Johan and Usama. But Usama says, it's difficult where he lives and artists don't make a lot of money and you don't understand. And then Gabe tries to jump in and says, well, why don't you sell your artwork to tourists? Because tourists love to buy that type of stuff. But now he's putting like caveats on it. And I was like, okay, this is where I'm kind of losing respect for you.
Exactly.
So he's like, no, I'm an artist. And I only sell to people who understand my art. My art's not for like living rooms. I was like, first of all, just because you made a few paintings doesn't make you an artist. Let's just get that straight. Second of all, if you're a starving artist, then you need to sell your paintings. Okay, because on the one hand, you're expecting Debbie to fund your lifestyle. Johan is expecting Debbie to fund this young man's lifestyle and to secure his future, but you don't want to even secure your future on your own by potentially selling your artwork to, you got a great idea, sell it to tourists, sell it online, sell it to whoever wants to buy your art. But no, you are saying you're only selling to people that understand it and your art is not for living rooms. Stop it. Just stop it.
Yeah, I'm not an artist, so I didn't really understand what he's saying, but it doesn't seem reasonable that you only sell to people who are like, and now I sign on the dotted line that I understand your art. And I will not put it in my living room.
Stupid. And so then he's asked, have you been trying to get back with Debbie, right? Because beginning of the tell-all, he said he was only calling her to remind her that it was over. So when Sean asked, like, hey, you're trying to get back with Debbie, it was silence. And then they went to commercial. He didn't want to answer. And we already knew what the answer was. He was trying to keep that, what's the fishing terminology?
Scam.
He wants to keep that fish on the reel.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So
or keep her in the back pocket. One or the other.
Let me reel her in.
Reel her in.
Let me reel her in. Okay.
She's ready to be reeled. He just can't get it together.
When Miss Debbie said, if you can move a mountain and buy me I was like, I'm done with you as well. So, I'm not done with you, Debbie. You are good TV. So, yes, he's been trying. He said, I tried before. We were like a poem. And then Julian gets mad again and says, just delete him. I want you to find a real man. And he's not a real man. They go for a break. And this is where things got a little juicy to me as well. Everyone gets up. Everyone's talking. But we're following Debbie out. Debbie's following Julian out. Debbie says, give Mama a hug. Because, I miss my old best friend. He was not your best friend, Mama. But, did you notice, Julian? He did not look well. Maybe he needs therapy. Worry about your damn self, Mama.
He has basic needs that need to be actualized before he reached the point where he'd be like, now therapy. Debbie.
I want you to promise me. I'm like mixing my voices up. Okay, Julian's like, I want you to promise me that you'll delete him on your phone and on your iPad. Delete him. And she ignores that. Notice, y'all, she didn't answer that. She didn't say, yes, I will immediately, if not sooner. She just says, did you like Jen? You see her giving you googly eyes? Should I get her number for you?
First of all, Jen's giving everybody googly eyes.
Ooh.
It's just her face.
She said, because, her dude is just like Usama. And then he says, well, give her my number then. I was like, oh, so are we watching a love connection? Is this about to be 90 Day the Single Life? We're going to have Julian on, and Julian's going to start dating Jen. Meanwhile, Julian and his mom, Debbie, are also going to be on Pillow Talk. Like, I see what's going on here. And you guys, I'm jumping ahead just the tash, just the scooch, but I'm watching Match Me Abroad. Are you watching that?
Yes. I just finished the first episode.
Oh my God, we should cover it together because it was a breath of fresh air. It was a breath of fresh air. These like three little misfits all are trying to find love abroad, and it's really, really adorable. And I want to say all the good things. It was really a breath of fresh air. But I also did to see how they could really bring this into the 90-day vortex.
Yes.
Right? Because if you find love abroad, guess what? You can vortex into 90 Days Stay the other way. Listen, y'all, I see what they're doing. Listen, genius. The genius that's going on over at TLC and Discovery Plus is okay. That being said, that was theirs. We started to get into Nicole and Mahmoud. And I can't remember who said it, but they've been married for years now. So this is nothing we're seeing is going to change anything because guess what? They've been married, done married, been married. But I thought it was interesting that Tim said they hate each other. Like, you think? You think that? But we find out that Nicole is back in LA, and hence how she's looking very LA-ish. She's back in LA. And Mahmoud has his visa appointment in 20 days, and then he'll be able to come anytime he wants to America after that. April, do you want to add anything?
Well, if his application is approved on the spot and she gets visa on the spot, then yes. Unfortunately, a lot of people go into what's called administrative processing, where
Mm-hmm.
they have to do security background checks. Um, if they have some medical issue that shows up, they might have to go get treatment for that. So it can be a while after your interview before you actually can travel, even if you're approved.
Ah, well, there you go. So he has his visa appointment. He does, again, like April said, have to be approved, but he has it in 20 days. And this was funny to me. Sean's like, are you happy about it? He's like, yes, happy about it. Sean's like, you don't sound happy.
And you know, Osama and Johan are sitting there hating him.
Why? Why is it called Murphy's Law?
Yeah.
Why the two that want to come to America are not coming to America? The one that does not want to come to America is coming to America.
And so nonchalant about it. He's so like, man, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So Nicole explained, because Sean is like, why didn't you just wait and stick it out with your husband and come with them after? She's like, well, I wanted to get stable and have an apartment and a job because, I'll be supporting both of us, which is true, y'all. Like, he's not going to just come over and get a job. Like, he still needs to go through. Well, April, go ahead.
Yeah, well, since he's coming over on a spousal visa as opposed to fiance visa, he will already be able to start looking for work. Sometimes, Hilda. But it can take a little bit to get your card in the mail. So unless it's a job that accepts the stamp in your passport showing that you're a permanent resident, then some jobs are going to be a little funny about giving you a employment based on that. They might tell you to wait for your card, and it can be.
They want your card, y'all.
I mean, you're legally allowed to work as soon as you arrive because you have the stamps and you're resident, but some jobs don't really honor that.
They want your card, y'all. Listen.
And the other thing Nicole is not saying is that at that visa appointment, the petitioning spouse has to prove their intent to reside in the United States. And so her coming back and going ahead and setting up where they're going to live is meeting that requirement. If you are living with your spouse outside of the country, you have to show like where you plan to lease, that you already have a contract somewhere. You have to show that you have an American bank account. You have to show proof of intent to reside in the US. And so this is part of her being able to do that.
Yeah, she probably wanted to quickly come back home and have mom and pops be like, hey now, I'm back, bitches. Anyway, okay, so one of the things that I hope that they don't jump past, because I think it's really important for us to talk about and actually hear the answers, is Sean brought up the fact that he proposed after a week. We found out from him that he said this whole time that, because he's never had a girlfriend, but he said that he never wanted to get married. Like, this was not something he was interested in. And then he saw this blonde beauty, and all of a sudden, in the week that they met, he wanted to be married and proposed. Let's talk about that. I hope we're not going to jump past that, because that is the foundation of their relationship. We need to dig into that on this tell-all. The second part that we best... Listen, y'all, I know you already taped this and it's already done, but don't disappoint me, because you guys came out running, and I'm feeling this tell-all like I haven't felt it since the 10-hour leaked one. That being said, don't drop the ball, because the second thing that I don't want you to gloss over is the fact that she converted to Islam after 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? We need to dig into that, because all this like crying and that she's doing, and I'm the victim and I'm the poor. Just like Sean said, would y'all be so stuck and up on him if this was Christianity, if this was Judaism, would you be having these same conversations and these same type of issues? Because each religion has their own sets of rules and regulations. So
I see what she's saying, but I don't remember, and you could tell me if I'm just completely forgetting somebody. I don't remember us seeing a couple before that was internally having an internal conflict about whatever the thing was. We've seen Mormon couples, we have Lauren and Alexi, we have a Jewish couple, but have we seen the couples in and of themselves arguing about what they're willing or not willing to do as a part of that religion?
no, because again, no, we haven't seen that. But again, I think that they've been picking and choosing, like I've been saying, right? Like you have a soldier boy who says, you know, he can't do anything with one woman, but then goes ahead and like does stuff with another woman. Can't have public displays of affection, but then has public displays of affection. Like I just don't. I don't. Again, I
Yeah.
think it's a pick and choose, and I think that for them specifically, perhaps he's really like about the control aspect of it, because we are going to get into a little bit of that. So Gabe jumps in and wants to talk about uh, their religion and his beliefs. So Gabe says, "What happens if your child doesn't want to be Muslim?" And says, "You know, what if you have a daughter? Are you gonna?" Gabe says, "Make her, force her to wear a hijab," and then Mahmoud corrects him, right? Because we had this conversation. They call it hijab, and says, "This is a conversation that I'll have with my wife." But I will introduce my children, if I have children, to Muslim and raise them that way. And then Gabe got all outraged and says, "Why do you force that religion on your kids? And why do you force your wife on how she should dress?" And then he freaks out, says, "It's not your business. It's between me and my wife." And then again, Sean jumps in and says, "You know, if this was a Jewish or Christian couple, would they get the same type of criticism?" Which is a valid question. I hope that we do not jump over that as well, because I'd like to hear the answers. And Mahmoud freaks out. "I'm done." He starts ripping off his microphone. It was a mess. And we see his temper. We're going to see it a lot more on part 2 of the tell-all. In part 2 of the tell-all, he is calling Nicole, FaceTiming her, and basically yelling at her. And she's like, "Why are you yelling at me? I can't control what other people say." Midwife Krista says, "Sir, this is a tell-all and you're on TV."
Yeah, that's the point. We're going to ask you questions. Here is the question that I would like for someone to ask Mahmoud, or you know, anybody else who's listening can tell me. When he was asked about Danielle's clothing, I think it was in this episode, he said he didn't want other men to see her arms,
Her
her body,
muscles.
her muscles. Yeah. And he didn't say anything about, "I want her to be close to God or Allah by being respectful in her clothing." So I just want him to clarify, is the reason that you want her to cover related to what you feel like you don't want other men looking at her, or is it related to the religion? Because I don't feel like he's being very clear about that.
I feel like I feel like it started off being based in the religion, but I think the simple fact that she brought in his insecurities and he solidified by saying, "Yeah, that is an insecurity of him." I think that he's been able, in his mind, to justify his controlling behavior vis-a-vis his religion. I think it started one way, but morphed into this thing. Because, if you think about it, if you think about where jealousy and control comes from, right? It comes from the individual who is jealous and controlling. And whatever part that they have not healed and are themselves insecure of, and therefore project that on other people.
By the way, I saw a really beautiful TikTok video where this girl had made the decision to start wearing the hijab. And so she deleted all of her old videos on TikTok, and then she just had the one where she goes and surprises her parents in the hijab for the first time. And it was so beautiful how they saw her and got so excited and started hugging her and everything. And she put in the caption that, it was her on her own. She made the decision that she wanted to start covering up, and so that's what she's doing.
There you go. You guys, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you. The live chat was popping. You guys don't forget to like and subscribe here as well as on April's channel. And like I mentioned, I don't know when I mentioned it, but I'm sure. Match Me Abroad, Season 1, Episode 1. April, you want to cover it with me?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so you guys, we'll set that up. So we'll see you. Maybe we'll see you tomorrow. I'll talk to April off screen, see what her availability is.
Until then, guys.
You guys, make sure you're watching Match Me Abroad. It is very just a breath of fresh air. New people trying to find love, very relatable. And I kind of want to say a little bit innocent.
Very. So innocent.
Now, are there issues? Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. A bunch.
A bunch of issues. And
we'll get into it.
Stanika.
I'm going to be calling her Stankonia. Just be ready for it.
Right. That's what y'all had to do her like that. Stanika. Okay. Anyways, we'll see you guys all again very soon.
Good night, everybody.
They called her Stanika.